Welcome back to the show. It's episode 143 already. Been fun week. Got lots going on. I have a super awesome guest today. This is the first time we've got to meet. We got connected through Chaz. And then I started digging into what you guys are doing. Like, God, this is going to be a good one. And you got, some chats on the side. Get some really cool things going on over there. But Josh, welcome to the show. Josh Fleenor out of Pest Solutions. And which market you in?
We're in Northern California, so based out of Sacramento.
That's got some good weather.
Great weather. Yeah, can't complain.
What's it like in the winter months?
It's still pretty decent, and we occasionally get some cooler days, but
Okay, what's cool to you though?
If it somehow makes it into the 50s.
You guys are bundling up?
Not me. I'm shorts all year round.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I fly into Chicago in the snow and I'm in shorts and flip-flops.
That's funny. Well, yeah, because cold for us is totally different cold. But things obviously, do you guys typically slow down in the off season, like winter months too, or do you guys keep trucking along?
They say that, but we've kind of developed the mentality that there is no slow season. We just have to make adjustments, so it doesn't really slow down.
I love it. So why don't you? I always start the podcast with this question because I love to hear people's background, where they came from, how they started. But if you and I are sophomore, juniors in high school, who is Josh in high school?
Oh man, you probably wouldn't even know who I was if we went to the same school. I was going through some stuff back then. I was a major introvert, but I didn't really understand that side of me at that time. But I also was connected to like several different groups. I didn't necessarily have a group, but I had friends within each type of group in the school. I played sports, but I dealt with some serious injuries early on, which really frustrated me because having grown up with a difficult family dynamic and a lot of things going on at home, that basketball was my escape. So when I got injured as a freshman, I really fell into a mental spiral, and I had to dig myself out of that with no real guidance or any real structure at home to help with that.
Right on. Did you end up finding like a mentor early on, like a coach, or did you cling on to someone since you didn't have that family dynamic?
No, I didn't really find any of that. I started reading a lot.
Gotcha.
And I started reading a lot about like professional athletes and mindset.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, so idolize guys like Larry Bird and Michael Jordan. Developed some traits that kind of helped me grow into the leader I am today.
That's really awesome. What happened in your freshman year that you got hurt? What would you do?
Well, right before our first game of the season, we were in a layup line, and I was going up for a layup, and some guy on my team decided to mess around and come try to swat me out of the blue from like behind. And he hit me so hard I fell on my shoulder and my head with my feet in the air, and I ended up popping 2 discs out of place. And I ended up with a really bad pinched nerve, and they were talking about surgery as a freshman to repair my spine.
Yeah.
So, doctors telling me that. So I go into the spiral, like my back's never going to be the same.
Yeah, for sure.
I ended up refusing the surgery, and then
Good call.
Yeah, and I ended up working through it all with a chiropractor and getting good by junior year. And then that summer going into junior year, I was saving a ball on the court, and I slid off the baseline area towards a door in a gym, and one of the wood planks in the floor was warped, and it was sticking up a bit, just a bit like that, and it ended up like slicing into my knee and my patella tendon and just ripped open to the bone.
That's wild, actually.
Yeah. So I had to have a repair there, and then I just I was already struggling with a lot of stuff because of my family life.
Yeah. What was it? You don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but what was the family like? I don't have to have duty, but what was the family like at home?
Single mom. My dad got into trouble years back and was in another state, and he actually went to prison for a while. And So my mom's raising 5 kids.
Yeah,
My mom was an incredibly hard worker. I mean, she did what she had to do to make
obviously,
sure
yeah,
there was food on our table and all that.
for sure.
But at the end of the day, like she didn't have the energy to address anything in our family. So my siblings started getting into a lot of trouble, drugs. They ended up, I have some older siblings and I have a brother
I
that's
was
10
just gonna
months
ask you,
apart from me.
where are you at? Are you in the middle, youngest, oldest?
So I'm second to youngest. So older siblings, 7, 8, 10 years older than me. And then I have a brother, we're 10 months apart. So we were kind of raised like twins. But we were like yin and yang. We were so different from each other. Um, but they're all getting into trouble. My older siblings end up involved in drugs and end up going to prison. And my brother's quickly going on the same path. And I'm trying to stay away from that
Yeah,
altogether.
that's what I was gonna like. You see that you talked? Here I got a good example. I have two friends, and you probably heard this analogy before, but it's so true with this friend group that I have. Parents are both alcoholics, really bad. One never missed a day of school since the day he went. Like since kindergarten through his senior year, he never missed a day of school. He was never late. Got a standing ovation at the end of the year, senior year. Other brother, kind of the same thing. Didn't go to school, drank all the time, still does. It's like, well, you ask each one what happened. Like, oh yeah, well, my dad was alcoholic. I didn't want to go do that. Yes, the other one, well, my dad was alcoholic. So like, how did you get away from that?
I've always kind of thought that way too. It's an excuse either way. So you can use it. You can use it to better your life and not go that path, or you can use it to fall right into it. And that's what I felt like my younger brother used that as an excuse his entire life to just fall right into it. And I I saw that and I didn't want any of that. So I used it as this fear that that was something in our family dynamic that I could easily fall into that. So I stayed as far away from it as possible so the temptation wasn't there.
Gotcha.
And I didn't spiral into that type of life.
Right. That's wild because, like I said, most people do
Yeah. That's why I always called myself the black sheep in the family
in a
for
good
being
way.
somewhat normal.
Yeah, it's wild. Do you drink now? Did you ever drink? Did you stay away from it completely?
No, I have a drink from time to
Okay,
time.
but you just
So
don't have an issue with it.
no, I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
I've definitely had some times where I've had a few
Oh, of
too many.
course. We were
Uh,
all.
but
Yeah.
I become like more social, because I'm a major introvert. At work I come out of my shell, but my home life I like a lot of solitude. I like to
Gotcha.
think.
Yeah, I remember it. You said you don't put yourself out there much, and you wanted to work on it. So here we are. We're working on it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, life's about growth, and the more I've invested in that, I've just the greater things that have happened in my life. So I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone to do these type of things. So I appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah, of course. So you go through high school. Where do you go after high school? What happens there? What's that transition like?
Uh, I got married to an older woman with 3 kids. So I like it. I think that I didn't have this family dynamic, so I craved it. So I ended up raising 3 kids at 19, and all of them work for me today.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. So I was figuring it all out at 19 years old, trying to be, so grown up and raise these 3 kids, having no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Um, I apologize to them all the time, like, hey, I was learning along the way.
Yeah.
Uh, but we have a great relationship, and they all work here and they're all thriving, and I just love them, and I'm so proud that they get to be a part of this and that we're creating something that provides that.
That's I kind of did the same thing. Got a relationship. Met it. Nick was 7 at the time. Raised him through high school. He just graduated last year. Went to college, and now this summer he's been working for us too. So he's killing it. He's going to do great things. Obviously in the next couple years, hopefully he'll own his own branch. But it's so fun watching them grow.
So cool. Well, I started over, and now I have an 8-year-old, so now I have some experience. So I don't
Yeah,
have as many excuses for screwing it up. But so I think I'm doing better in ways.
yeah, I hear you.
uh, but she's growing up in the business too. She sees her siblings here, and and she's so proud of that. We're actually filming a commercial on Monday, and I got her a little polo just like mine. She has a little hat just like mine, and she's going to be like kind of the hard-nosed coach in this football commercial. And basically the theme of it is, with pests, there's no off season. So we're like training on a football field. But she's super excited about it. And she was a lot like me. Because my mom always said when I was growing up, like, oh, he's shy. So then I went, oh yeah, that's who I am.
I'm shy.
I'm shy.
Yeah.
So I didn't come out of my shell, where she used to say those kind of things. And then I kind of forced her to face some of her fears early on. And 2 years ago, when she was first grade, she had to do a presentation. She was terrified. And her teacher gave her an out and allowed her to record it instead of presenting to the team, to the class. And I was upset about it at the time, because I had her right there on the fence. She was okay, I'm gonna do it. So she got this out, and then they played the recording to the class, and then they said, and the teacher knew what she was doing. She said, okay, hey, do you want to answer some questions for the class? And the kids were all raising their hands, and she got up and she answered some. She came home and she was so proud that she had done that. Well, this year, right at the beginning of the school year, she had to do a presentation right away. And she's like, I can't wait for it. And then I asked her, what was the best thing about your week of school? And she said, my presentation.
That's awesome. Are you sick of paying marketing agencies and not getting results? Well, we are hosting the #1 step-by-step class on how to attract and generate sales without paying a marketing agency or having a huge budget. Most lawn care and pest control owners get stuck at a ceiling because they're dealing with outdated systems or relying on guesswork waiting for the phones to ring. Our upcoming class this Thursday provides proven strategies to generate hundreds of leads without a huge budget. We'll show you how to build a predictable system to grow past $1 million. We show you how to automate your marketing. We'll also teach you how to delegate and build your team so you have more time. So click the link in the description below. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. This is the one thing that I wish I had learned a lot sooner. Now, let's get back to the show. It's cool to watch our kids grow for sure.
Yeah.
I have 3 daughters myself, from 15 to 6, so I get it. It's just fun. Every part of life with them is so different. And they're all of their sisters, like they're so different. It's pretty crazy. So you're raising these 3 boys. Where does pest control come into place? Did you find it? Did it find you? Did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
So it was 1 boy, 2 girls. So now I have 3 girls. But
Gotcha.
Pest control, it's funny because, I've hired a lot of guys over the years. 'Cause even before this, I was in management position, and 99.9, maybe even a higher percentage than that, of people, they didn't set out to be in pest control. You just kind of fall into it. I actually, so there's 2 parts to it, the entrepreneur side of it, and then there's the pest control. I'll focus on the pest control first. It's, I became very passionate about like horticulture, and I started going to junior college, and I started working for a landscape company, and I got into their landscape design department. And I was really enjoying that, like the creativity in designing landscapes. I really enjoyed the ones where I had a little bit more creative freedom versus, I'm just following, what's mapped out. And I wasn't making a whole lot of money, and I'm raising 3 kids, and I needed some more money, but I needed to pursue school a little further too. Well, a lot further, if I was going to, move into like a high level landscape architect. So I answered an ad in the paper for an apprentice position that could open up to, something that paid a whole lot more in landscape design. And well, this might be a good opportunity for me. So I called him, and the number was wrong. It ended up being a pest control company. And this guy was super charismatic, and he convinced me to come down and actually meet with him. So I was like, awesome. All right, I'll go hear him out. And, he sold me on it, and he was excited about it. And it sounded like, well, I can make a bit more money. I could save some money, and then I could pursue, my journey into some further schooling to pursue that career. And, that was 26 years ago now. And I've been in it ever since. So
how long do you go work for him?
Actually, I only worked for him for about 6 months.
Okay.
And it was kind of wild. He was very charismatic, but they didn't have any systems or anything in place. It was pretty wild. I mean, honestly, the first day out on route, I didn't have a license. Like, a guy called in sick, or no, a guy dropped his keys, and I was training with a guy doing like pre-treats for termite, and I didn't have a license yet. So, he's showing me the ropes. This guy drops his keys, and they have a whole route that needs to be ran. So they go, "Hey, I go into to work, and they go, "Hey, you're running route today." And I went, "Oh, what do I do?" And I don't even, I'd never seen pest control. I didn't know what what we were supposed to do. And then I go, okay, well, I got out there reluctantly, but I went, this wasn't the time when you could text, or even, cell phones weren't very effective. Like, we were on those Nextel radios, and I remember just somebody had like an ant issue, and I'm reading an aerosol can, and it was like a aerosol can of orthene, and I don't know what this stuff smells like or anything. It just says it kills ants. So I'm like, okay. I go in this guy's office and I treat for ants, and it smells horrendous. And I ended up close the door, and they said, so when can we go back in? And I go, oh, a couple hours. And they call me the next day, and they're like, man, that room still stinks. Like, when are we going to be able to go in there? But I had no idea that you had to have licensing or anything like that. I just kind of fell into this thing. So I ended up getting licensing shortly after, and I'm there. I'm just seeing like a common trend with that company. People are constantly, quitting, not showing up for work. Uh, there just weren't any standards or anything. So I went, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to find the best company in the area. So everybody said, at the time, that Clark Pest Control was the best company in the area to work for. They had the highest standards, all that. So I went and interviewed over there, and I ended up getting hired on there. And I worked there for about 5.5 years.
Nice. What were your roles there?
Uh, I was just a residential service guy, and then I moved into, because of the ag background, I moved into what they call their premier service program, which is lawn, weed, and pest. So I did that for a while. I didn't really see a lot of opportunity for advancement.
Because the company is so big. Yeah.
Yeah, there was that. I wasn't as confident as in myself at the time. People had said, like, "Hey, you're really great at this," or "You picked this up real easy," and that. But I just didn't see myself being able to beat out the people around me at the time.
What was the culture difference? What was the culture difference from the first company to the second one?
Oh, I it was completely different. They had very high standards, quality assurance processes. Uh, they didn't they didn't take no crap from anybody. If you weren't cutting it, you were gone. So uh, it but it led to this standard that, like, you're going to follow the rules, like, and you're going to make sure you know what you're doing out there. They give you all the materials to study and all of that, and they list out their expectations and standards, and you're going to stick to that.
That's really cool. So then you stay there for 5.5 years, and at the end, is this where like I want to like really start thinking like, hey, I think I want to go do this for myself?
No, so, well, I had always thought that, going back as now that I know myself the way I do now, going back as far as I could possibly think as a kid, I always had these, like, I always wanted to create something, and I'd feel like this passion for things. Like, I wanted to, like, this big passion to create something, but I didn't know exactly what that was just yet. And it's funny because I remember I sold like some squash that my stepdad had grown, and I sold it on a stand, and I made all the signs, and I made a little booth for it, and I was like really into it. And I was thinking, how can I scale this up? As a kid, I'm thinking, like, how can we do this bigger? And then I had like a lawn mowing service for the neighbors, and I'm making signs for that. So even when I did landscape design during my lunch hour, I there was a community right next to the shop that I worked out of. I put flyers all around the whole neighborhood, so I would do little odd jobs for landscaping throughout the day or on the weekends. And I was designing, even doing landscape, I was designing, like, I had a company name, I had uniforms, I had the logo designed, I had everything that I was going to do if I was going to create this. And then I ended up in pest control, and I started thinking the same thing, like, okay, what would a company name be? What would our, what would we be aiming to do? What would be our niche in the pest control industry? All of that. So, but I always had this fear that I was going to fail, and nobody in my family had ever done anything like that. It's a big leap when you're not seeing anybody do that, and nobody in my neighborhood was doing those kind of things. Um, the neighborhood I was growing up into, everybody was doing the same thing my siblings were doing. It was easy to fall into that. So I went to work for another company, and I eventually worked my way up to where I was managing a couple branches at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was, you know, I was learning along the way. It was all pretty new to me, but I took like ownership of it, because very quickly when I moved into a manager role, I thought, okay, my direct manager is going to tell me what the expectations are. They probably got some systems in place I'm going to work off of. We'll be meeting regularly and communicating all these things. So I get the position, I interview for it, I get the position, I go, okay, we're going to meet up. I was like, so I reached out to him like, okay, when are we going to meet up to discuss these things? He's all very soon. And then a little time goes by, don't hear anything. I'm like, reach out again, like, yeah, very soon. He was he was busy. He was newer to his role too, so he's probably feeling pretty overwhelmed. So, anyways, I end up taking the role, and there's no conversation, and I just, all right, pack my stuff up, and I go to that new branch, and it was in the Bay Area here, so that company was based out of Sacramento as well, or close by, greater Sacramento area. And it was kind of a newer venture for them. They didn't know a whole lot about the Bay at the time. They took on a bunch of national accounts that were very challenging and underpriced. And they inherited some guys from another company when they had purchased that they weren't the best service guys at all, and they weren't the best people, honestly. So I inherit this branch. I walk in, and it's a rough team. And I'm looking around. These guys aren't doing much production. Um, they don't have any fire in them at all, and there's absolutely no standards. And we have all these national accounts that they think that they could just cut corners on because nobody's looking, and I have to come in and correct all of that. And it was, at the time, it was a $55,000 branch, and
It's brand new.
it's brand new. Yeah, so they basically purchased $55,000 in national accounts. We're talking about $29 accounts where
Right.
yeah. Uh, so I have to somehow build a culture there and change the trajectory of this branch altogether. And I took a pay cut to do it, and I've got a family of five that I've got to support, and I was the only income. So
Can I ask you why you decided to do that? It was like the challenge part of it.
at that point, I was really investing in myself, and I was starting to build confidence. And like, if I don't, like, I have to challenge myself. I need that next challenge. I had this thirst for it, honestly, which I still do today. It's a little bit more controlled now. It's not as wild. But then I was like, I'm taking this risk, and they showed me what the pay scale looked like and how it could, because I was getting a percentage of the branch, and I go, all right, I'm going to make this happen. So where I could eventually exceed what I was making before. But finance wasn't that's not the thing that drove me. It was building something. But I obviously needed to make more money. Um, but it was really building something that really, and challenging myself, that really drove me. So I very quickly realized I was on my own there, and I could have used the excuse, well, I'm on my own, so I guess I'm gonna fail. And I went, no, I'm gonna own this, and I'm going to make this successful, regardless of the level of support that I do or don't have. It's going to be successful. It was kind of like that burn the ships mentality. I just went, all right, I'm all in. I'm making this happen. Well, in 3 years, 3 years later, it was a $500,000 a month branch. So, I mean, I could go into all kinds of detail about that, but I just dug into it, and in a very unhealthy way, honestly. I worked 24-hour shifts. I slept on the couch at the office sometimes because it didn't make sense to drive home at midnight to be back at a 4 a.m. escalation meeting at some national account.
And how were you guys getting? Do you remember how you guys were getting jobs at the time? Like, how were you growing How did you get from the 50,000 to 500,000 in 3 years?
Well, one, I had to seek out some much higher caliber people. So, and some people that would buy into my vision for what that branch was going to
So
be.
you went in and basically started replacing people right away?
I just started replacing people. I built up I tried to salvage what we had and build them into something, but they continued to show me they weren't going to be those people. So I gave them an opportunity, but replaced them with some great people that, had some fire in them. And then we started investing in Yelp, which that was a battle too, because, I'm battling with their marketing person who, says, well, you can't have your own Yelp page. Like, there's only one Yelp page. And I'm like, why can't I have a Yelp page for my branch? Like, because the Bay Area responds differently than, say, Sacramento area to Yelp. Because I'm doing all this reverse engineering on Google, like what's linked to what's popping up the most, with no marketing background at all. But and I'm seeing Yelp tied to everything, and so I'm like, we have to invest in Yelp. Like, we have to put some effort into Yelp. So finally, I got a page, and then we started driving some reviews. And then I'm looking at other people's pages and I'm like, well, I want this click box here where you can contact now, or I want, you know, this paid ad, or, so I started digging through all of that, and it was a fight to get each thing added. And as we built more reviews and we started adding these options, we just started getting leads like crazy. And we hired a salesperson who he was a tough guy to deal with, but I very quickly realized that if I get this guy to believe that we can do anything, he can sell anything.
Yeah. Was he selling B2B?
Yeah. So we sell them B2B. And then I even started giving them residential overflow leads, which they didn't want me doing, but it was feeding him. It was feeding our branch. He's going to handle it better than my service guys were at the time. So it was a lot of maneuvering things around and trying to make it work. But he was a very complicated guy, but we made it work. And he ended up selling quite a bit the first year he was with us. And then we brought in another sales rep, started doing the same thing. And I need these guys to believe that we can do anything. I was like, you sell it, we'll figure it out.
Just not at $29.
Yeah, just not at $29. So we started seeing larger jobs come in,
Cool.
like big bird projects and stuff like that. And it was like, all right, other companies are saying they can't get to that area to net that area. Well, we're going to figure it out. Probably not the safest way at the time, but I remember dangling a smaller guy harnessed to me one time, dangling over the side of a building. I was his only support.
Jesus.
Just so we could get to an area we couldn't get a lift to.
Yeah.
And, the scaffolding company was even like, we can't, we can't get you there.
Crazy. So you stayed there for 5 years, 3 years, 5 years? How long?
No, I was there 13 years.
Oh, damn. You were there for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, my buddy had started a company and he was doing fairly well. And he was always like, come partner with me, come partner with me. And I'm like, no, I was super loyal to the company and I was super loyal to my team that I built. I'm like, how could I bring all these guys in and get them to buy into this vision and then go, hey, see you later. So that was hard for me. And then one day when my now 8-year-old daughter was born, she was diagnosed with a heart defect and she had to have open heart surgery at 3 months old. And I never took time off. And I was so dedicated to the job that it was unhealthy. And I remember because in the national accounts, the phones would ring like constantly. You wake up to 60 emails that are expecting a response right now. I mean, I'd get up at 2 a.m., answer a bunch of emails, go back to sleep, and then wake up at 4 a.m. and head off to work. But so I said, hey, I want to, my daughter's having open heart surgery. I need to take this week. Please just have somebody cover for me. I don't want to be bothered with anything at all. I just need to be there for my family. Well, my daughter has open heart surgery. It's 2 days later. I finally get an opportunity to hold her. So they're like, okay, Dad, you can hold her now. So, I mean, that was one of the most just one of the most magic moments in my life where I was like, I felt so overwhelmed with joy that I got to hold her. And my phone starts vibrating in my pocket. And my first instinct was, hey, I got to set her down and answer my phone. And, and I went, well, wait a minute. And I pulled my phone out, and it's, the national company that they were tied with, reaching out to me about an escalated account. And I grabbed my phone, and I'm going to set my daughter down. I went, what am I doing? Like, I have my priorities all wrong right now. And it wasn't the company I worked for, and it wasn't even the national company. It was something in me that went, I have my priorities wrong. It's not anybody else's fault. It's like, I need to get my head straight here. Like, so I looked her in the eyes, and I went, all right, if I'm going to sacrifice like this, I'm going to do it for you. And that's when
I just got the
just
chills.
from there. Yeah. From there forward, I went, all right, it's on. I'm doing this, I'm going to take all the risk, and I'm going to make it happen.
That's awesome. So after 13 years, where was the branch at then?
So that branch I only had for 3 years. So I worked 10 years I was a service guy, and then I moved into a supervisor role for a short stint, and then I was very quickly. So 3 years, it went from 55 to a little over 5.
Awesome. So then she has surgery. Like, I'm going to go all in on myself. I'm going to do this. Like, it's all going to be for you. How much longer did you stay with that company, and walk us through that transition? It's super cool.
It was only about 6 weeks. So it ended up being like my buddy who had started his own thing. He had a couple partners. I met with them, and they were going to bring me in as a partner. That felt safer. Um, and so I did that for a few months, and it very quickly went south. Uh, I'm really realizing as a branch manager, and uh, the way I had grown the brand, like, I was a visionary. I had that visionary mindset. I kind of needed to be the person in charge of the vision, and that's where we kind of stumbled there. They actually ended up dissolving the company, and I was going to go. They had a whole falling out and was dissolved the company, and they weren't doing a ton. It was doing like 20 grand a month, or 20 something, a little over that. But I was going to take it and scale it up.
But like I said, but now you have a family. You have 4 kids at the time,
Yeah.
and now you're not making any money. Like, that's obviously
It was
tough.
scary times.
Yeah.
So all that happened sudden. It was super sudden. So we're scrambling. And I go, all right, I'm taking from my 401k, and I'm just going to start my own. And then my buddy's like, hey, like, I want to do this with you. I believe in your vision, and I'll get fully behind it. Uh, like, we have to do this together. And and through a bunch of back and forth, because I was like, I think I'm going to do it myself, because I just didn't want to take the chance on that happening again. It needed to be in my vision. And we worked things out, and uh, here we are almost 8 years later, and we got 55 employees. We have like a really great leadership program. We have this brand that we're building. Like, people know us in the area. Like, we've really focused on brand, and but we've really focused on people. That's what has made us real successful at this point. Like, as we're developing our core values, we just continue to double down on our core values, and we hire, fire, promote off of it. And I know people say they do that, but we are very intentional about doing that. And every time we've swayed away from us, it's bit us in the ass. And every time we've really put the effort into it, these amazing things have happened around us. And so, yeah, he's my partner's like my best friend, and he just supports everything that I do, and champions things behind the scenes. He doesn't really have an active role when it comes to like leadership or any specific position. He's more of a key account manager. He has really great relationships with some of our bigger clients, and he's got a lot of experience in the field. So he'll go out and help solve some problems here and there, um, but other than that, he kind of stays out of my way and just champions what I do. And it makes for a powerful team.
Yeah. How did you come up with the name, and then walk me through like the first year to 3 years?
The name was, well, we chose, originally we were going to be Eco Pest Solutions, because I wanted to focus having managed in the Bay Area. I was seeing a lot more people from the Bay move to Sacramento. We decided to base out of Sacramento. and then work our way back into the Bay Area over time. And I was seeing more people move from, San Jose, San Francisco, Santa Rosa, all that into Sacramento area. And we were thinking, okay, let's jump on this swing to where the Sacramento area is going to become more eco-focused and stuff like that. Then so we submit the name. I look it up. It doesn't exist in California. So I submit it, and then it gets denied. And I'm like, well, why is it getting denied? And they said, well, they made a rule that you can't use eco in the name, and you can't even use green or blue at the time. So, which I didn't think was fair, because a friend of mine has a company that has earth in the name, and we're like, well, he has that, like, but that was grandfathered in. So I had to scramble through a bunch of names that, we're like, we're trying to get this thing going as fast as possible. So we're scrambling through a bunch of names. And then I think I need something that sounds like it's been around a while. And I look all over the internet and I don't really see, I'm thinking like pros, like, let's be professionals. And because, what we talked about with our standards, we want to change the view of our industry, because, a lot of people see us sometimes as knuckle draggers, maybe, or guys that are like kind of rough guys out there just smashing bugs, and we're trying to change that. Like, because why, when a plumber comes out or an electrician comes out to a house, like they tell them what they need to do, and they trust them, and then they just follow through with that. But in pest control, they're like, well, I can do that myself, or they're like, no, you need to put, macadamia nuts on the trap if you're going to catch rats or whatever. Like, they're giving us all the advice, and I'm like, well, you need to come across like professionals, like at a high enough level to people start going, yeah, you're the professional. Whatever you're saying we need to do, we're going to do that. We're going with that plan. So came up with the name Pest Pros, Pest Solutions. I wanted to get away from control and more of like solutions. We're digging deeper, and we're finding actual solutions for you. So threw that name out there, and it stuck and got accepted, and we just rolled with that. Now it's, looking around, it's a Pest Pros seems to be a common name across the country. If I had it to do over again, I'd probably change it to something, like Apple, or, like something in those lines, like some of these guys that have been just kind of did something obscure that nobody else is going to have. But this is what we got. And I mean, we love the name, and our team's behind it.
Did you choose the orange and blue from day one too?
So we're blue and green, and I chose those colors specifically for specific reasons. The green represents creativity, so creativity and problem solving, but that specific blue represents long-term relationships. So there's a lot of red out there.
There's a lot of red out there.
Buy quickly, right? It sparks that in you, like, buy, but retention may not be the same. So we're not looking for every client. We're looking for people that are looking for a relationship. And we call them clients versus customers, because customer to me is a transaction, where client's a relationship. You're partnered together.
I like that. So which route did you take from day one? Like, how did you start acquiring customers? And did you go a commercial route? Did you go residential route? Walk us through that.
So we wanted to move. We needed some larger, chunky stuff, because I was very quickly trying to get back to where I was, with that $500,000 branch. Like, I was finally getting to the point where I was like I had my own organizational chart for the branch and everything. Like, the company that I worked for they didn't have any of that together. So I was building all that. We had our own mission statement. We had our own core values, everything just in that branch. And that's why our branch was succeeding the way it was. So, like, that was fueling me and keeping me fired up. And I was giving that up to start fresh, to eventually be able to paint it fully in the way that I needed it to be, honestly.
Which route would you take for residential versus commercial? Which way would you go? You think you could take on some chunky stuff?
Yeah, we needed to get some chunky stuff in quick, and we had some relationships with some property managers. So we hit a few of those up. Ended up landing some properties early on. We ended up getting some properties from the company that dissolved, not all of them, but some of them, some of the multifamily stuff. And we started honing in our process with multifamily. And I don't know what it is like in the rest of the country, but I know in Northern California, people don't see a lot of value in multifamily accounts. And everybody that I worked with over the years, they hated servicing them. But it was really because they didn't have any rules in place, no standards of like how it needed to operate. There was nothing put together for it to flow effectively. And so we went, this could be like more of a blue ocean idea versus
Love
a
it.
red.
You read the
There's
book,
not a lot of people.
I'm assuming?
Yeah. Yep.
Such
It's a
a
good
great
one.
book. Yeah.
It really is. So we go, this could be like, even though it's existed for a long time, but it could be more blue ocean for us because a lot of people don't see value in it. And we started prospecting, just knocking on doors, just out at locations, showing our personality, showing that we care, um, asking for their business, and then, asking what their budget number was, because the easiest way at that point was just match their budget number. What we were finding is 90+% of them weren't happy with their service. So they'd take a chance on anybody at that point. So we're like, hey, we'll match the price and we'll show you who we are. And we did that over and over again. And then we eventually brought pricing up. What's funny is we'd walk into some of these property managers, and as we were building more confidence there and structuring our program and starting to ask for more, they'd tell us the price, and we'd tell them where we would be, and they would laugh in our face at the pricing. They're like, we'd never pay that. The funny thing is, most of those properties these days are on service with us, and they're paying more than what we originally quoted them, because we built the value behind it. And it's like, what's the cost of having vacancies? What does that cost you really? If you got vacant units and you're squabbling over $200 a month extra for your pest control service, like, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome. So, as you're growing the business, did you find a mentor then, or are you just slinging this thing since like you have so much years of experience?
No, I just read a lot, honestly. Um, I talk to, I find that a lot of people out here aren't willing to share a lot, where I'm an open book. I'll share everything. Um, and I don't, there's enough business for everybody. And I don't fear that somebody's going to take things away from me because, you can have our game plan, but you don't have our people. You don't have our heart. You're going to have to develop all of that. So I don't really fear that. I do mentor some younger guys in the industry now, which is a lot of fun, and I'm learning a lot through that. And I mean, I don't charge for it. I just whatever whatever you want. A lot of times people think there's some type of angle to it, but there isn't. It's like I find a good person that aligns with my heart, and like I'll help you.
That's really cool. So, what is your business makeup now? Is it majority? Is it business or commercial, residential? What's the split?
So we did very well with the multifamily, and then we just kind of went into phases. We had it all written out, like we're gonna go from this phase to this phase. But one of the things that we didn't have mapped out is when COVID hit, we had this huge plan on how we were gonna take multifamily to the next level. And then at that point, you can't get in front of anybody. Uh, there's no events happening, and we did really well on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn just dried up. Like people aren't even responding on there anymore. um, and the volume of salespeople on LinkedIn increased. Everybody, because that's their only option, really. So I had to quickly pivot. I didn't know what was going to happen. We're still a new business, and we didn't have cash reserves. Um, and I'm going, what are we going to do here? Are we going to make payroll, or are people going to stop paying their bills? I didn't know what was going to happen, so I started making some adjustments with Google and pursuing residential. So starting to put more out on social media, um, learning about Google LSA. Even we started getting into Nextdoor and some other Thumbtack and some other apps to pursue more residential stuff. And we did very well, like real quickly. And so I started diving into that more and more and more. And now, our phones ring quite a bit, residential base. I mean, we get a variety of lead sources that our phones are ringing constantly.
Yeah, that was my next question. What is your biggest lead sources today?
Google gets all the glory, but it's not always Google. Like, they might see you somewhere
Might
else,
see your truck and
and
just
then
search you and then find the Google. You show up at the top, you're sponsored, and yeah,
exactly. Like, I mean, you can see in my background here, this is one of our billboards we got running right now. We got a ton of billboards out. That was a phase that we just opened up, and we had it outlined like when we start maxing out our budget here, then the next phase is whatever's over the overage is going to move into billboards, and then the overage from that's going to move into another area. So I've toyed with shutting off Google for a few days, and our call volume is very similar, so even through Google. So it's more Google organic versus a Google paid ad, since we started the billboard. So
how's the billboard zoom for you?
well, I've had one person say they've called because of the billboard. However, doesn't matter where I go. I mean, I went to dinner the other night, and the waitress, I'm wearing my shirt. She's like, "I've seen your billboards everywhere." We're running some commercials, and we're sponsoring the Sacramento Kings, so our logo's up all over there too. So um, it's a multitude of
Yeah, you
things,
have
and
to be
even
everywhere.
you do. Even the way our trucks are put together, they're simple, but people see them because they're simple. Sometimes uh, people's logo or their wraps are it's too crowded. Like, you don't know what's going on until you get real close, and nobody has that level of attention anymore. They're not focusing in on it. They need something simple and clear that they can spot from a distance.
It's really cool. So you mentioned social media. You're doing a lot on there still.
Yeah, we do. And that's more branding. Like, we don't get a ton of people uh that we convert off of there. However, when we talk to our clients after they've signed up, they've seen us on social media. They mention our posts.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, how about referrals? How you guys doing on referrals? You guys get a
Oh, we
lot.
get a
Yeah,
ton of
I
those.
bet.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
get a ton. We really focus on the level of service, and it's really the level of connection with our clients where they want to work for us. Because, you know, we give we give $100 credit to our clients if they refer a client, and it's pretty significant. But to a lot of people, $100 may not even mean that much to them. But if they have a connection with their service guy and they want to do it for him, they'll do it for them versus just $100 credit on their account.
yeah, I agree. That's really cool. So are you like still 80% commercial, 20% residential, or is it more 50-50?
No, we're creeping into the 30s when it comes to residential now. We had a really good summer, and and I suspect we're gonna have. Well, I don't suspect. I know we're gonna have a very good winter. We'll carry this through the rest of the year.
That's really cool. Are you guys? I'm assuming you guys are more like bi-monthly out there on residential, or doing quarterly.
We started stretching it to more of a quarterly. We call it a seasonal program. We got everything specific per season, but yeah, it's 3 months out. And products are holding up. So we
Good. Yeah, I
just,
wasn't sure with the heat out there if the products break down or not, but seeing good results.
so far we're seeing good results. We're very thorough, and our expectations for the service times are a little higher than most of the companies in the area, but we charge a bit more too,
Yeah,
typically.
absolutely. I love that. As you should. Um, so let's switch gears a little bit to your team. I know you guys have one of the things Chaz says you guys have a tremendous culture out there. And that probably coming from like like in the first company you work for has a terrible culture, then you go to a bigger company, is a terrible or good culture, then you go to the next company, like you created your own culture. So talk us through like what the culture's like today, what you do for your team, what the training's like. Walk us through that. I know you have a lot to talk about on this subject. So
Yeah. So one of our core values is love people. So love comes in many forms too, and it has to. One of the harder parts, more difficult parts about loving people, especially when you're hiring people based on their love for people, and then you're promoting people into leadership roles that love people. One of the harder things is to hold them accountable. And we've done a really good job of associating accountability with love. Um, you know, People with big hearts, like, they don't want to have those harder conversations because they're going to hurt somebody. But connecting them that if you're not having that conversation and you're not guiding them to be the best version of themselves, you're doing far more harm than you are by just holding back. That has grown quite a bit in our culture. We're super transparent. I always share the why behind everything, and my leadership team shares the why behind it. And what we've grown to is that accountability and understanding the why and sharing the why doesn't just come from me. It comes from every single person in this company, and it's becoming this summer. It really shifted gears, and it became it it's the peer-to-peer communication, accountability, and support has grown tremendously, and we wouldn't have that if it didn't make it through every level of the company. So, but I've always said, when there's a high level of peer-to-peer accountability, that's when teams really excel. Um, and then we're pretty clear about it. We used to say, hey, we're a family company, we're family. um, we are, but we operate more like a high performing sports team, like a dynasty team.
Absolutely have
Like,
to.
we love you.
Yeah.
Families will accept things from people, and like, hey, they're family, it's okay. um, High performing sports teams, they love you, but they'll cut you if you're hurting everybody else. And we've had to do that. And you know it might sound a little cutthroat, but I'm going to protect the team, the whole, versus one individual, if it's right.
Yeah. Do you guys do anything fun for your team? Do you guys do any events? Do you guys do?
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff. We had a sales competition not long ago to where the winners, we took them up to Tahoe. We had this like, man, this like king's table. We had I think we had 28 people at the table at Hell's Kitchen.
That's
And
awesome.
so we had a great dinner there. We hung out at a cigar lounge. We took a little private yacht around Lake Tahoe. And then we did a couple other really nice dinners and some breakfasts. And then we took them out ATV in the desert, or out in the terrain out there, out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we did that this
And
spring. It's so fun.
oh, it's so fun. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was going to be a little more guided, and they just went, okay, there's paths going everywhere, and just go.
Did they have GPSs in them too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
We
yeah.
had so much fun.
We did too, man. It was so fun. Everybody's still talking about that.
Yeah, one of our guys rolled one, so we had that.
Yeah. I only blew a tire. I mean, I lost the whole tread on it and everything, but nobody else did anything. Uh,
That's awesome.
then we took some guys indoor kart racing recently on some really fast.
Yeah, you guys had some really cool stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, we do lots of stuff. We do barbecues. We cater food. We'll have catered breakfast. We'll do catered barbecue.
That's super awesome. You said something earlier on too that you have like a leadership course or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. When I managed for another company, I started like a leadership program, and it was basically kind of like, I guess you could call it a book club. Um, Now, when we started this, I had this vision to. I've always looked for inspiration outside of our industry, like more of like the tech industry and how they operate. Like, I mean, I'm hoping that one day we're going to have a daycare in our headquarters, and you know, a gym in the back. That's my plan, and just lots of amenities and lots of support for our team, so they just really enjoy coming in. And but with the leadership program, I want it to look like something I've never seen before. Like, there needs to be a curriculum. There needs to be like, I could teach it, but I need somebody solely focused on teaching it. Because I'm only going to give it so much because I have all these other responsibilities, and I'm still learning as I'm going. There's a lot you have to learn on finance and scaling and operations and HR and all of that, and this would just be another task that piled on me. So I didn't know when I was going to do it, but I knew that I was going to do it. And a, a guy came in for an interview that was really good friends with two guys who work for me who happen to be my cousins. One's my director of operations and one's an area manager. and they didn't get that role because of relationship. They got that role because of who they are. Well, they're posting stuff on social media constantly. And this guy, master's degree in education. He's held several high roles in the educational field, and he comes in and just wants to see what we're about. He's seeing what our core values are. He's seeing how we speak about people and all that, and it really resonates with him. So he comes in and interviews with us, and me and him just hit it off. And you know, I'm finally. It's hard to find a guy that's read as many books as me, or has the same mindset, honestly. And me and him just hit it off. And I'm sitting there thinking, God, if I could just get this guy into this company somehow, um, and I can make that role happen eventually. So he actually agreed to come on as a service pro. We call our guys service pros. He agreed to come on because he wanted to see what the company was about. Come in boots on the ground. We talked about in the interview that that's something I wanted for the future, was the leadership program. And at that point, if he was coming on, it was his to lose. So he had to show me that he could continually be that guy, and it only took a year, and he was that guy, and some. Um, and we started digging into, like, what's the first class going to look like, and the first thing you need to learn to do is you got to learn to lead yourself. And you're like, well, who's going to be in this class? And like, everybody needs to be in this class, because whether you're going to move into a leadership role or not, you have to understand how to lead yourself, and you got to learn about like personal growth, and you've got to inspire that through yourself, and you got to learn how important consistency is in everything that you do. So threw some books around, chose 3 books for that class, created a curriculum for it. He took full ownership of it, and just exceeded what I initially thought it was going to be. And then we created an intro course, and then we created a leadership 1 course, and all of my existing leadership went into leadership 1. And at first it was me and him talking a lot. And then people started coming out of their shells. And the way he led the class, he got people comfortable starting to share. People who probably never shared a whole lot in their whole life. People who are afraid to speak publicly. By the end, it's everybody's got a hand up, hand up, hand up. And I had to learn, and so did he, because the guy who leads the course, Frank, he's like me. He's when we start talking about leadership and all this stuff, like, we get passionate. So both him and I had to learn to scale it back a little bit to allow other people to start sharing more. Well, we just started our leadership 2 course with that same leadership group that moved up, and day 1, I mean, we've been out of class, I think 4 months, 3 months maybe. We hopped right in, and day 1, hands up, hands up, hands up, and I've just seen the growth just in that 3 months from the time the class ended. And this one, we're tying in some podcasts, and we're tying in some articles, and it's not just books, but it's a few books, and it's a couple other things. So it's going to evolve. What we want it to do is evolve into like a leadership 1, leadership 2, leadership 3, and then beyond, and then into a master's course.
That's awesome. So it's like a book. Is it like a book a month?
It's 4 weeks, so we're getting through it, and we get pretty deep on it. It's twice a week that we're on a Zoom call for an hour. We have a big kickoff. It's an hour and a half, and then we finish with a 2-hour meeting. But it's more than a book club. Somebody called it a book club the other day, and I got kind of offended. I was like, it's not a book club. I promise you, it's not a book club. We are digging into this stuff.
I love it. I talk a lot about books. I'm an avid reader myself, so I always end the podcast with like book recommendations. So I'll ask that question last. That's super awesome. I think every company should do this. We've done it since the day we started. I got it from like Patrick Bet-David, kind of the same thing. They have a book of the month, and at the end of the month, they go through it. They have to have like a full like article written of what they learned from the book, and we talk through it as a company. So again, I love it. Something we've always done.
At the end of each book, we have a project.
Cool.
And it's like you've got to do a culminating project for each one.
So we've been doing that since day 1. I love it. I'm so glad we did it, and like listening to what you guys are doing. Like, we could definitely make ours evolve too. So thanks for that. It's really cool. And to all of the listeners, like it's so smart to get everyone on the same page. And even if they're, like I said, from every role in the company, like they can learn something too along the way. And if they end up leaving here, but they became better while they work here, like that's what we ask for. It's like always
Oh,
improving.
absolutely. Well, and like people will be reluctant at first, like especially with the intro to leadership, because it's mandatory here, and you got people like, I don't want to do that. Well, you're one class in, and they're like, I can't wait till the next class. But it's the energy you bring as a leader that's going to inspire that in them. So it's real easy to say, oh yeah, they didn't like that, or they don't want to do that. But you have a responsibility to pull that out of them and inspire that in them.
Yeah, I agree. That's super awesome. I love that you guys do that. What's been your worst day since you started this thing?
There's lots of worse days, but every day's great.
Yeah.
I don't regret anything that I've done. It's the best. It's the most amazing thing. One of the most amazing things that happened to me. My kids are probably the most, but second to that. Um, Worst day was a couple years. So we moved locations, and we our mail wasn't getting transferred, and we were already struggling on AR. We made some changes. We brought somebody in who ended up being a bit toxic, and very quickly we had to get them out, but they weren't doing the work either, and kind of twisting some things around. And then we moved, and our mail wasn't forwarding. It's like every day, like, where's the mail? Where's the mail? And at that point, we didn't have a lot on auto pay where we do now. But very quickly, we were already pretty far behind through this process when we identified this person wasn't producing in that role. Then we were another 300K behind cash flow at that point, or collections, and all these expenses were building up, and I was down to the wire. Am I going to make payroll? And I'm like, I'm 5 years in business. I should be able to make payroll. And it was a sick feeling. And at the 11th hour, we got a little bit of extra cash. I went, don't pay me, pay them, and hold off on this and hold off on that. And I mean, as long as we can, and then we just need to get in and grind. We got to figure this out. And then slowly, mail started coming back in. And that's probably the worst day. I had some of those days early on, when we were small, and I kind of expected that back then, but not at 5 years in business. And some of my teammates are gonna hear this podcast probably and be shocked that we were even in that state, but that's where we were, and it's my job to not make them feel that. So we figured it out, and now we're healthy.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing to be vulnerable at times too, even with your team. I've been there. We've all been there. Like I think I just had a video post like last week just on this one topic alone. Like they don't like everyone just sees all the accolades all the time, see the trucks, the revenue, they see the team, but they just don't see what's behind closed doors. And it's a grind, as you know. And there's just some
It
things that
is,
you
and it can
can't
swing
control
real quick.
real quick.
Yeah.
Like you said, it took one person, like in your example, this one person that wasn't doing their job, and all of a sudden you're 300K behind in AR. Like that's a lot of money. It's hard to grow a business and pay people with off accounts receivable. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and especially since day one, I've always been about like, hey, we're not managing a business; we are growing a business, and it takes money to grow them. So I'm reinvesting, whether it's in people, whether it's in marketing, whether it's in additional equipment, whatever. We're kind of, we don't have this big profit margin we're keeping. We've shrunk it down so we can
Keep
grow.
growing, yeah.
Yeah, and we still got growing to do. So it is a little more stressful to do it that way versus managing a company. I feel like if we were to just slow it down and manage,
So that's no fun.
it'd be very simple, but I would lose my
Me
mind.
too.
I cannot be idle that
Me
long.
either. And again, I'm assuming that you'll have an exit one day, and you're growing this thing as big as you can, so that when you do exit, that's where you're gonna make your money. That's what it's about for me too. Like I'll push profits down now for a future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so yeah, it's tough. Like as anyone that's listening to this podcast knows, it's a struggle. So being vulnerable is just it's awesome. I'm the same way. Like I just wear my heart on my sleeve. You'll know. Like I'm just not. I don't hold anything back either. What's the best day, Ben? There's probably a lot of those too, though.
There's a lot of really great days. I don't, you know what was the best day for me? So it started with I was at a Kings game, and I was there with my then 6-year-old daughter, and I pointed up at the screen, you know the scoreboard, and they had like an ad up there for another company, not a pest company, and I said, Pest Pros is going to be up there one day, and she looked at me like, oh, okay, and I leaned over to my girlfriend, my fiance now, and I said, I need to reach out to them and see what it even, because it was a goal of mine. I go, I need to see what it even costs to do that so I can make it a tangible goal, so I can make a plan. And literally the next morning when I came into the office, one of the admins was like, hey, so and so from the Sacramento Kings is on the phone. They want to talk to you about marketing. And I go, well, what are the odds of that? Like, are they listening to me in the stands? So I hop on the phone with them. They have this like small business partnership thing, because I was thinking this was further out. And they had the small business partnership thing that made it a little bit more affordable for smaller companies at the time. And I jumped on it, and they moved pretty quickly. So it's like, in that same season, uh, they had a release game that our stuff was going to go up. So I didn't tell my daughter, and I took her to that game, and we're in the stands, and she instantly points and goes, Daddy, Pest Pros. And just the look on her face. And I think at that moment she thought, Daddy can do anything. And it just, I mean, it left me feeling just absolutely amazing. And then I went, I think we can do anything. I think I'm gonna make this stuff happen. Whether like I'm gonna be more intentional with it. I'm not gonna just like dream about it. I'm gonna go, if that's what I want to do, I'm gonna go do it. Like with these billboards, I eventually, it's not an ego thing or anything like that. It was like, hey, when we get to this phase, the next phase is billboard phase. Like we had it all planned out, and I go, well, if I'm going to do billboards, I want to do it in a way that where it's most effective. And there's a lady in town. Well, she's all over the state now, but she's an attorney. Her name's Ann Fong, and when I think of guerrilla marketing, I think of Ann Fong. So I was telling a friend that, and I said, that's the way I want it to be. I want it to be guerrilla, like the only person I can think of is Ann Fong. And he goes, bro, I know Ann. I could probably get you in front of her. And I go, really? And he goes, oh man, she's got the same heart you have. If I tell her who you are, she'll want to meet with you. And next day, he's in an elevator. There she is, and he talked to her. He texted me, like he didn't even intentionally like go to connect with her. Like they just happened to be in the same elevator together. He goes, Ann's in. She wants to meet you. So I ended up meeting with her, which I thought was gonna be like a 15-minute meeting. It was like an hour and a half. We hit it off. We stay in touch pretty regularly now. She's always checking on me to see how things are going with the marketing. I ended up helping her with some problems herself. And, we built this really great relationship, and now I have this great resource. So the funny thing is, like I speak these things out and then they just happen. Somebody asked me the other day, who's the next person you want to get in front of? And I mentioned it, and they go, I know. And they go, oh, my father-in-law is friends with that person. So he's linking that up now.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's funny how like being a visionary, how we had these things planned 5-10 years ago, and all of a sudden you see them like come to fruition. You're like, holy man, like I literally dreamt this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Just crazy.
Do you as a visionary have a hard time being in the moment though?
It's
I'm
terrible.
always looking so
I'm
far
so
ahead.
bad at it. I'm the first one to admit it. I've lived 5 years from now. Like it's crazy.
Same. Well, if somehow you figure it out, please teach me, because I'm trying.
I don't have
try
that
to slow
answer
down.
for you yet. It's not in me. And I struggle with it every day, all day long. And I try to be intentional. I try to leave my phone inside my truck. And it's just like, next thing you know, like, oh, I got to go check my phone. And it's hard. The only time I feel like I can shut it off is when I'm at wrestling practice with my daughter and I'm wrestling around just because I'm focused on doing something different. So that's kind of like, and at the gym too. I do pretty good at that job at the gym. Uh,
Yeah, that's what I started training, just kickboxing, not fighting people, but hitting pads and stuff. And my trainer is he trains a lot of UFC fighters, like high level guys. And I'm not doing what they're doing, but I'm learning from one of the best in the world. And something about the rhythm of hitting pads and like striking patterns and stuff, it just really slows my mind and kind of puts me at ease. And I don't think about any of that stuff.
Same. It's the only time I can really shut it off.
Hmm.
It's so cool. I know I kind of went over a little longer than I told you, so sorry about that. But also, I'll turn to wrap this thing up. But what's the next 5 years look like for you, personally and with the business?
Personally, which I mean, it's business related too. I really want to push myself to network a whole lot more and push myself out of my comfort zone. Um, I think I have a lot to learn from a lot of people who are much further ahead of me, and I have a lot that I can share, and I want to grow that. I really do. But being an introvert in my personal life, it makes it hard because by the end of the workday, I'm drained. I need to recharge. So I'm trying to find ways to combat that and at least do that in doses and be a little bit more involved.
Are you going to Pest World this year?
I'm not this year. I do plan on going the following year.
Cool.
So
Yeah, I didn't go last year either, but I'm going this year because I got invited with a bunch of friends. So I pretty much have to show up. I feel like at this point, like I just have to. The podcast and gotten so big, I didn't expect it to happen. So everyone just kind of expects me to be there. So I'm gonna be there.
yeah,
So
you have a responsibility
I do.
now.
I definitely do. Um,
Company wide, I mean, we're going to be multi-state. We should be in 2 other states in the next 5 years. Um, but we're working on our scaling process. I want to make sure it's super dialed in. We had an instance with we opened a Bay Area office, and it very quickly became something that we are not. And I ended up having to tear it down and start over. And now it's in line with who we are.
Been there, done that too.
Yeah, so we really have to dial in that process, but once we have that, we'll be able to move faster.
Yeah, and we were talking before the podcast, and like I said, I'm hard on ourselves because there's always room for improvement. But I feel like every new office that we've opened, it keeps getting better and better and faster and faster. So we are getting dialed in, but I still feel like we can be better. You know what I mean? Talking about what we talked about earlier. And then I'll just wrap this up. Last two questions. What are you most proud of?
My children,
I can tell.
I'm most proud of them. The growth I've seen in them. Even one of my daughters had a little bit rockier path at times, and she came to work for me recently, and I've seen a lot of growth in her, a lot of maturity, and she's become this great mother, and I'm just super proud of her.
Yeah, every time you talk about your kids, I can tell you get emotional. So I'm the same way. I love my kids to death. This is why I do what I do. And same with you. Um, and then last, wrap this thing up quick. Top, maybe just top one or two, three books that you recommend everyone listens to.
Oh man, it depends on what phase you're in. Uh, I think that every business needs to read Traction by Gino Wickman.
I think
That
I
whole
think I talk about
series.
that on every freaking podcast. Like I've read that book maybe 6 to 8, 10 times. I try to read it once a year just to kind of go back to it. Love it. Do you run EOS?
Yeah, we do. So, just not strict EOS. We've made some
Us
modifications.
too.
We run it a little bit more loosely, but there's some really good stuff in there that has to be in place.
Agreed. Yeah, so we do the same thing every Wednesday. We have EOS meeting, and then on Thursday, so we run like a mini EOS meeting with all of our branch managers.
Nice. Yeah, we've done some smaller ones for different departments, like sales and operations separately. But yeah, every Thursday we run it off site, so we can like be as candid as we need to be because we got to talk about some tough things, um, action items, the to dos that come from that, and the pressure. Like if you're not getting 90% of them completed, you don't want to be that guy who you don't have any of your to dos done.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
And we're growing
great
there.
book. Great book.
Yeah, another one, Legacy by James Kerr. That's one of the books I read recently that really spoke to me. And they talk about standards and culture. It's the All Blacks, the rugby team from New Zealand.
Gotcha. I just wrote it down. I never read that book.
Yeah, check that one out. I don't even know how that one slipped past me over the years. But a buddy of mine brought that to my attention. We made it part of our course.
Got one more for us?
If you're just starting off, or you're thinking about starting to become an entrepreneur, the E-Myth Revisited.
I just talked about
was
that
a
book
very
yesterday.
powerful one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Funny. Because I had a guy that reached out and said, hey, do you have any book recommendations? I feel like I'm just kind of struggling getting myself out of the way. Like, read this book. Easy read. Starting out, it's a way to make you think a little bit different.
Yeah.
Great book.
Well, one I would suggest to like employees, because I had to learn. I grew up poor, so my relationship with money was terrible.
I already
my
know
parents'
what's
relationship
coming.
with money was awful. But the psychology of money is probably the best finance book I've read for like personal finance.
Awesome. I love it. Cool, man. You're an absolute stud. I love what you're doing in the industry. I'm glad that we got to connect, build a new friendship. I look forward to connecting some more. I'd actually love to fly out there, check out your operations, just see what you guys are doing. You're all obviously more than welcome to come here anytime too. But I'd just love to come check it out, meet you in person, and see what you guys are doing.
Yeah, no, you're more than welcome. We'd love to come out that way too. I have to throw this out there. My leadership development coach, he's my director of leadership development, is a huge Green Bay Packers fan.
Awesome.
If you're out in Wisconsin, we probably need to come see you.
There's people on our team that have season tickets, so we can make it happen.
All right.
Cool, man. Well, again, I appreciate you being with us. You dropped a lot of bombs today. I'd love to have you on the podcast again in the future, kind of see where you guys are at. But again, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate that.
See you, man. Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. We don't charge any money for the show, but the podcast isn't free. Please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review in your favorite podcast app. This makes a huge difference for us. If you have any specific questions about your business or your personal life that you'd like answered by me or any of my podcast guests, please send an email to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about our marketing class, we do a live version every Thursday night. Check out our website at pestcontrolmillionaires.com. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys in the next one.